I'd suggest a little bit of that is talking to our economist team is because people are feeling a bit more confident about where things are going. So I think the conversation about where will interest rates go or what's the market doing, cost of living, all of these things, it's kind of old news now. It is what it is. So I think that's giving people confidence that this is the market. So regardless of whether interest rates go up or down slightly, they can sort of get an idea of what they can invest in, what the future potentially will look like a calculated investment. So that's, I think, giving people confidence. So that's from an investor point of view. Exciting for property management customers, hopefully starting to see new investors come to the market and inquire. Listening to your podcast again recently with your mortgage broker, it was really interesting to talk about how, or listen to you talking about re-engaging your clients who are already property investors and seeking, ways for them to grow their portfolio, so to speak. A really smart strategy.
Welcome to the Property Management Podcast. I'm Kylie Walker. Thank you so much for being here yet again. I'm hoping this conversation will be a bit of a crystal ball conversation for you. Wouldn't it be great, though, if we could predict exactly what was going to happen in the real estate industry and when? But the only certain thing in real estate, in my experience, is that there will always be a cycle. And that's because the property market is a dynamic entity and it's influenced by countless factors from economic trends to local developments in your core areas. And staying ahead of the curve requires not just keeping up with the news, but also understanding the underlying trends and then making informed predictions about the future. For many of us, whether we're property managers, business owners, investors, or just curious, getting a clear picture of what's ahead can be both challenging but also crucial. That's why today we're diving into property market insights and predictions. And to help us navigate this complex topic, I'm thrilled to welcome our special guest, Kurtis Pirotta. He is a rent specialist from the REA Group, and he's also a new dad with a 7-month-old bub. Kurtis brings a wealth of expertise in property rentals and market analysis, and he's here to share his insights on current market trends, future predictions, and how we can make the most informed decisions about our property management, about our sales, about our businesses in this evolving market. Kurtis's expert advice will provide you with the knowledge you need to make smarter choices and stay ahead in the property game. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us for an educational conversation as we explore the latest property market insights and predictions. Kurtis, thank you so much for joining me on the Property Management Podcast. Before we dive in, can you share a little bit with our audience about yourself and what you're doing now?
Thanks, Kylie. So I am Kurtis. I've been at REA for the last 8 years in a variety of different roles, but primarily focused on property management and helping our industry and also our business probably get a deeper understanding of our customers and then using that information to help them grow. So we spend a lot of time on helping customers brand themselves and promote their businesses, build their rent rolls, create efficiencies and all of those things. I now lead a team at REA of what we call specialist salespeople. So in real estate world, that's like a bunch of BDMs around the country. And our business has evolved a lot. So we're certainly an advertising company, but we're a lot more than that now. And so we have a lot of new things to share with customers and promote. And so that's what our team does.
Amazing. You're also on the personal side of things, you're also a new dad to a 7-month-old. And we often talk on this podcast about working mums, but let's talk about it's a juggle for working dads as well. So share a bit about your journey and how you're handling everything. Sleepless nights?
Thanks for asking. So firstly, I'll say that I am no way wanting to compare myself to working mums. It's a very challenging role. I think I was actually talking to my wife this morning, like there's nothing better than having our little boy. So his name is Edwin. He is just over 7 months old. We're about to go overseas this weekend with him for a couple of weeks. So we'll see how that goes. Every mum I've spoken to says that traveling with a 7-month-old is perfect because they're not really moving around too much. In saying that, he is crawling now. Imagine if he was walking. I'm so proud. He's crawling now. So he's definitely on the move and all of our things have been moved higher. In terms of working, I think it's a balance. I travel a lot for work. And so I've tried to put in some some guardrails for myself. My wife's amazing. So by herself, she's a phenomenal mum. It isn't easy doing it alone. And so I try to be present for as many bedtimes as possible. So something that I've introduced this year is reducing the amount of bedtimes I miss. So that might mean 5:30, 6 a.m. flight to Melbourne, or it might mean 8:30 p.m. flight to make sure that I'm at home in between sort of 5:30 and 7. They're really important. In fact, last week I came home from Melbourne. I purposely got a flight that would get me into Brisbane at around 5:30. And I made it home in the door at 6:15, just in time to read our special book. We read, if you've heard it, it's from Seed, one of those the jelly cat books. It's called The Very Brave Lion. So I read that to him every night, and it's a really special time. And yeah, so what I'm trying to do is just balance, what do I need to do at work? How do I balance my travel? But also, how do I make sure I'm present at home and sort of the best dad I can be? So I try really hard. It makes it really easy that my wife's all over it and phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. And it's not, I think it's more of an integration than a juggle. And, sometimes you got to spend more time at work. What I have learned is that, yeah, sometimes you spend more time at work and wearing that hat. And then other times you're spending more time with your kids and in that family role. But it's great. I love that you've set an intention, that you've made one thing that you're going to focus on and make really important, and that will keep you sane. And hopefully he's a good sleeper for you as well. So that makes things easier.
It's one of those things, Kylie, as you would know, it evolves every day or every week, I think. We're going through a bit of a sleep situation at the moment that we're combating. So he sleeps amazing at nighttime. The only thing is he's probably an early riser, so up at around 5:30. But the daytime naps we can sort of work on. So given that we're going overseas, it's kind of a bit of a lesser priority right now. We'll see what happens. But when we come back, yeah, we'll try to manage that.
Yeah. I had two kids that did not like day sleeps from really young ages. And yeah, I had to just stop fighting that battle. It was a losing battle. And just going back to what you said earlier, my eldest boy, he started walking at 9 months. So yeah, that was an absolute, he's one of these kids that every day I had to factor in. So if you've got a really active boy, look out. They are very challenging, but obviously very rewarding as well. So anyway, enough talk about children. Let's move on to our topic for today. And we're going to talk about the real estate market, what's happening. I mean, wouldn't we all love a crystal ball to see what the future was going to hold in real estate? And I think the only thing that we can all agree on and predict is that it's going to come up and down. It's going to go in cycles. But you guys get access to a lot of data and a lot of experts around the property market. So share with us, and maybe let's focus on the investor market or property management, what you are seeing right now, what those future predictions are, what's going on.
Yeah, so I might break it up into a few different sectors. I'll start with the investors because it's a really good point. We would all know whether you are new into building a business and starting a rent roll, or you've acquired a rent roll, or you've been in real estate long enough that you've sold properties off that rent roll, which was very big around COVID. People were cashing in on their investments. There haven't been that many investors in the market. The interest rates of late haven't helped, but more importantly, people have just sort of put their hands in their pockets from an investor point of view. So what we've seen from our insights is there haven't been new investors coming to the market until recently. So if we think about the last 4 years, just after the pandemic or during the pandemic, a lot of investors either sold their properties, as I alluded to cash in because they started to make money on these properties that might have just sat for a little while. And particularly in regional markets like Rockhampton, Yeppoon, these people had not made any money on their investments for 10 or 15 years and decided to cash in. So talking to a lot of our customers, property management business owners and property managers, a lot of their properties were being sold off their rent roll. And as we know, a lot of them were sold to owner occupiers. So we sort of lost a bunch of investor clients in the market. Great for sales businesses, great if you have a bit of a hybrid business where you are obviously capitalizing on that sale as well. But in terms of attracting new investors, was really challenging and has been for the last 3 or 4 years. What's really exciting, though, is investor activity is starting to increase. So in Perth, I was in Perth a couple of months ago, a very big investor market still. A lot of people, as they say, from the east coming over and spending their money because you can still buy a home for $600,000 and rent it out for $650 a week. A really good opportunity for many people. And then regional markets. So, Toowoomba, as an example, Townsville, Rockhampton, really starting to see an inundation of investors return. We're seeing that from our mortgage choice business. We look at like borrowing and how many investors are starting to borrow. And for the last couple of years, no investor activity, but it's starting to change since the start of this year. I'd suggest a little bit of that is talking to our economist team is because people are feeling a bit more confident about where things are going. So I think the conversation about where will interest rates go or what's the market doing, cost of living, all of these things, it's kind of old news now. It is what it is. So I think that's giving people confidence that this is the market. So regardless of whether interest rates go up or down slightly, they can sort of get an idea of what they can invest in, what the future potentially will look like a calculated investment. So that's, I think, giving people confidence. So that's from an investor point of view. Exciting for property management customers, hopefully starting to see new investors come to the market and inquire. Listening to your podcast again recently with your mortgage broker, it was really interesting to talk about how, or listen to you talking about re-engaging your clients who are already property investors and seeking, ways for them to grow their portfolio, so to speak. A really smart strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it is. It is. And it's amazing how many property managers come in and don't understand that bigger picture. They come in and do their job managing properties very, very well. But, it's really important, especially now as we move into a different cycle of real estate, that people are understanding the bigger picture there with investors. It's not just your mum and dad investors anymore. There is, people are doing this for businesses now. People are property investing as their businesses or flipping houses or whatever as pure businesses now. So, and what about in terms of the overarching sales cycle and what pitches, if you again pull out that crystal ball, what are sort of some of the predictions around that market?
Yeah. So again, sales properties in all capital cities are doing phenomenal. Like again, if we use COVID as a bit of a benchmark, in Brisbane, particularly 45% growth since 2020, close to 50% in many other markets. Being from Brisbane, I love to see these results. We bought our home in April 2020 and have experienced some really great capital growth in that time, like a lot of people. What's interesting though is there is this new first home buyer. So the first home buyer that's buying in capital cities right now, they're spending over $1 million, Kylie, to get a 3-bed, 1-bath home in these big capital cities. I've
That's
got
my
no
question.
idea. Well, actually, it's funny you bring that up. Something that we're starting to see again from our mortgage choice business is the bank of mum and dad. And so the bank of mum and dad is the 9th biggest lender in Australia. They are
Is that a real
equating
bank, or are you just saying is it like
parents.
mum and dad parents?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
So first home buyers, they equate to 60% of first home buyers now are getting help from their parents. This is across the country, and we're starting to see this through again our mortgage choice business. About 5 years ago, it was 20%. And the way people are doing it are in different ways. But one of those is obviously unlocking equity in their properties to lend to kids. They're just giving them cash gifts, or they're going guarantor. And that is how a lot of first home buyers are getting in the market, particularly those Gen Zers. I'm a new millennial. I've got rebranded to a millennial. But the young ones anyway, they're getting help from parents. And as a new dad, I'm sort of thinking, what should I be doing, or what should we be doing to sort of set our little boy up for success in the future? It is very likely that we are going to have to help. In sales, like traditional resale, the challenge right now is this bottleneck. So the new first home buyer market, as I said, is well over $1 million for a 3-bed home. Those homes are being sold by people looking to upgrade. The challenge is that those people can't buy anything. So if you're going from a 3-bed to a 5-bed home, you've got maybe younger teenage kids, there aren't many homes. So there's this ripple effect, as you would see in your business, where people are just unable to sort of take that upgrade, and so therefore aren't listing their properties. So that's driving the prices up at the lower end. The other thing is new homes. So the new home market is still really tight. Land is really, really tight. We've got a lot of governments saying a lot of things, but there ain't much land being unlocked for people to build homes. Building a home now is much more expensive than buying a secondhand home, which is unusual, I think. So there's all of these factors. And if I think back to the property management world for a second, with all of these investors selling to owner occupiers over the last couple of years, it has created this rental crisis that exists now for for everyone. The median affordability, like a median wage that a couple or a household can have to afford a home these days in most capital cities, is well over $100,000 a year. And so that's creeping up to beyond 33% of your rent.
Yeah. We're on 40% now. Yep.
So stressful for people. And so there's a real challenge for people to save to then buy, which is why I think the bank of mum and dad is becoming more possible or more needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I don't know what the future is going to hold, because we are, as a business owner as well, in the Western Brisbane sort of corridor, affordability is a real issue, and wages are not going up, as you alluded to. Pensions are not going up. I don't know how a pensioner is going to be able to afford a rental property, even our way, which was kind of considered lower socioeconomic. The prices.
Affordable.
Yeah, affordable. Yes, affordable. The prices are, and we're putting up properties still up to $100, but people are not able to afford it. And rent arrears is ultimately going to start creeping up, which, not to scare off anyone into the market. I mean, because, that is what happens in real estate, doesn't it? It's, we go through these cycles, and we all find ways to adapt and, and get through these challenging, I'm not going to say difficult, these challenging times. But you guys are a very innovative business, and you are also always coming up with ways to support businesses and help with things from lead generation to having automating conversations and that sort of thing, and I guess also helping with branding. And I mean, there's so many things that you guys do, and I'm sure most people listening have used you guys or are currently using realestate.com.au. But what are some of this new stuff now that you've got, that you, with the changing market, what are some of the new ways that you're able to support business owners in the industry? If you are anything like me, you think you know your rent roll numbers. Well, I thought I did, until I had a rent roll health check, and I was quite literally shocked. The money I was leaving on the table was astounding, and this is not something that I'm proud to admit. There were missed management fees, let fees, advertising, and lease renewal fees not being charged, and properties even without bonds. And all of this was happening despite monthly audits being conducted in my business. So how did I uncover all these gaps in my valuable income? Well, I had a rent roll due diligence from my good friend Tazi, aka the Rent Roll Queen and founder of the Tazi Way, a specialist in rent roll due diligence, business valuation, and management rights. The Tazi Way is the innovative force driving the real estate industry. With 25 years of business and real estate acumen, they find gaps and risks in your agency to find undiscovered value. If you'd like to book your business in for a rent roll due diligence, head to the link in the show notes and mention That Property Mum for a 10% discount. If you're ready to be a super organised, focused and productive property manager, buckle up, because Colmio is about to revolutionise the way that you work. Colmio is the driving force behind property management excellence in residential real estate. Now picture this, a comprehensive end-to-end system designed to be the beating heart of your property management tasks, manage your properties, owners and tenants, and handle payments, inspections, and even marketing listings without leaving the platform. Colmio is designed to be an all-in-one solution to all your property management needs. And here's the game changer. Colmio isn't just software. It's been awarded the most innovative PropTech Scale Up in 2023. Yes, you heard it right. Colmio has been recognised for their groundbreaking approach to property management software. How good is that? So property managers, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, dive into the future of property management with Colmio. You can book in a demo with the team today and go in their weekly draw for a Prezi gift card worth $100. All you need to do is to head to the link colmio.com/thatpropertymum, and Colmio is Kolmeo.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I sort of alluded at the start to highlighting that we kind of want to be an advertising and business. So, and being more than just putting a listing on site, finding a tenant or a buyer, or finding a new seller or a investor. So our team specifically look at ways that we can create more efficiencies for customers. So some new things that we're rolling out is we have a new CMA tool. So think price valuations, researching properties, those types of things. So Ignite is a very big part of our future for customers. It's where we're injecting a lot of time and energy to create more tooling. So in Ignite now, customers will be able to create a CMA for investors very easily. It showcases leased prices and market insights. It's really valuable for when you're doing a lease renewal. You can say to an investor or a landlord that we know that there are 450 other tenants looking for a home similar to yours, and that's either up or down off the back of last week. It can really give them some good knowledge about what's going on in the market. But more importantly, Kylie, as we come out of this time that we're in, and I don't think it's going to be next month or next half, but we will get out of it. It is just a temporary time that we're in. When we come out of it, we're going to have a lot of property management people that have never had a price reduction conversation in this market. We're going to have a lot of property managers that have never done more than 3 open homes in this market. I speak at different things, and I always ask, how long have people been in the industry? And anyone that says less than 3 years, I know, okay, all you've had is prices going up and properties being rented really quickly. When that changes and we move to a more sort of stable market, data can be really powerful to educate investors about price and expectations. But right now, people can use this data to have more informed conversations. So I'm talking about with your existing landlord. So being that single point of truth, using insights that we have that's available for free through their Ignite account around what's happening in the market, what they're seeing, how your agency compares versus the market. It's really powerful because all it's doing is reinforcing the value of why you want to keep your current clients happy. We spend so much time trying to fill up our pipelines with strangers that we actually forget to nurture and grow our current client base of people that can already refer us business, happy with our service, create the raving fans, all of that stuff. So I'd be using data from that point of view, not only to educate your investors on how they should advertise properties and find the best tenant, but also be that single point of truth, because the reality right now is investors get their information from the news, and depending on the day of the week, that can be a very different message.
Absolutely. I used to work in media, so I know that very well. But just on that point that you touched on earlier about, the current wave of property managers being in this utopian market, I started my business back in 2011. I signed my lease on my premises a month before the 2011 floods. So we opened up the door and half of our Ipswich market was flooded, including our own property, which we had bought as a development site. So talk about, challenging times. And you're absolutely right. You get through those tough times, even though you want to quit and give up and think it's too hard. There is light at the end of every dark tunnel when it comes to real estate. I can definitely say that now that I'm a veteran of having a property management or real estate business. So that's a really good point you made. And then the tools and the data I can honestly say I have used a lot of those tools, and still now, even in a good market, I still, again, it comes down to the customer service element then, providing that extra value. But your tools do make it really easy for us to be perceived as the expert, a quick push of a button, and, you've got that amazing report. So
something that we can do better on, though, Kylie, is helping really great property management businesses stand out. So I think we do a really good job helping sales agencies, or when I say traditional agencies, I mean sales and rentals. Okay. And we do a really good job for the sales bit, but property management, as we all know, can often be forgotten because of a variety of things. And while I don't think we've forgotten it, I just don't think we've nailed how to do it better. And so an example is, if you think about you are a property management only business right now, or even you just primarily property management, do a bit of sales, but mostly your property management, we need to do a better job at helping you showcase your great results and your point of difference and your value to potential investors. So we've spent a lot of time getting more leads for sales agents. So creating opportunities for sales agents to get appraisal requests and all of these things. That's gone bananas in the last couple of years. Because sellers use REA as a resource to find agents. we need to do a better job to help investors find property managers. So one way that people can control this right now is their stats. So something that is displayed already on your realestate.com.au profile is your leased data. So how many properties has your agency leased in the last 12 months? What's your median leased price? What's your days on site? Those things are being surfaced already, but it's a start. Because back in the day, if I was to find a property management agency in Baval or Toowoomba, it would be ordered alphabetically, like the old Yellow Pages. For those young people listening to this, the Yellow Pages were these books that were delivered to your house for free every, I don't know, year.
They were like the Google. They were Google for paper Google.
Exactly. But alphabetical is crap unless you're ABC Real Estate. And so then we changed it to active listings, who's got the most amount of active listings. But that wasn't good either, because if you've got a lot of listings in a hot market, you're doing something wrong, right? And so we've got better to help landlords see who's a really good agency, but we still have a way to go. So helping property management agencies brand themselves, set themselves apart, showcase their great results, prop up BDMs so that BDMs can have their own sort of profile or presence to showcase their success. Reviews is a bit of a tricky one because in property management, I don't know if we know property management reviews sometimes can be a bit prickly depending on who you're getting the review from. So we're very cautious of what that looks like and how we use that to help customers, because ultimately it's to attract new investors.
Yeah.
So that's a TBC, but there are little things that people can do today just to make sure their results are surfaced.
You know what? I've worked this out a long time ago, because I always ask all new clients, how did you find us? Why did you choose us? And more so now, it's they Googled us and they checked our reviews. But back, probably 2020, a lot of people would say to me that we searched you on realestate.com. We were looking for properties in our core area. So say it's, West End. They would be searching other agencies on real, and the ones that were presented the best photos, put effort was made with the copywriting and the pricing as well. The pricing is always a big thing. Let's be honest with investor clients. They want to, they want to see that they're going to be able to achieve, they're going to go with an agency that's achieving the highest rental return. But that was always a big thing, was how you present your properties on realestate.com. So I was always very conscious of that and make a concerted effort to make sure that, we are one of the best presented. Our properties are very well presented in the marketplace. So just a little tip for anyone listening, but the investors do search you on those platforms. So now I want to ask another little question, and this, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but it's a conversation that I have had recently with some of my coaching clients, and a few of them, and they probably have got around, say, 100 to 200 properties, and they're not using realestate.com.au. They are renting their properties, and the reason is because they can't afford it, or where they couldn't afford it when they started out. They can afford it now, but they haven't needed to go there because they're renting them out on, Facebook Marketplace and those types of places. So how, I guess, how do you guys, and I'm sure you're already aware of this, I'm not telling you something that you don't already know, but is that how do you feel about that? Is there options for startups to work with you on a budget type thing? I don't know. I'm just putting that question out there because it has come up in conversations recently with me.
No, thanks for asking. It is a good question, and it's actually a really timely one. It's a great point as well. So if I unpack that a little bit, I think the off-market space for rentals at the moment is far more prevalent than it's ever been. And that is a concern for us because obviously we are a business that monetizes listings. And if there's not many listings, then you've definitely got CEOs and leaders that are asking questions. The reality though is sometimes, like right now, as a lot of your clients in this hungry startup phase would experience, is you could stand on the side of the road with a signboard for 30 minutes and find a great tenant because there's loads that miss out. Like for a property that gets 20 people through or 20 applications, 19 are still good. While they miss out, they're still good. And so it's very smart. So I commend your clients. And if I take my REA hat off for a second, like it's a reality. So good on them. Not a lot of people can do it well. So obviously your coaching and your coaching clients are well and truly above the crowd. We are aware of it. We are concerned because it means we need to think about how we can deliver more value to new businesses or startup companies to help them build a foundation to start with. We are always looking at how we structure our like subscriptions and our plans to make them more flexible for customers depending on what size they're at or how big or what their trajectory is. That is an ongoing conversation. My team is actively involved in that now. So that CMA work I was talking to you about is very much focused at the high end of town, if you were to say, bigger growth customers. But we can do a lot of other work at the other end of town to help people set up. So I'm kind of dancing around the subject because it's a bit confidential at the moment, but certainly we are looking to address some of these pain points that customers have to make it more flexible. And I think it would just be, my only reminder would be, while the market is how it is right now, let's just think about how you can make sure you're well positioned when the market settles down. Because if you haven't, got listings on site, in fact, I was at a conference on Friday talking to a customer who had this same example. She said, I've listed 15 properties in the last month, but I have no presence on realestate.com.au. And so the byproduct of not having those listings on site means you miss out on potentially branding and promoting your success. You were saying before that your listings attract new investors. The way you're presenting listings attracts new investors. All that's really important for future business. Obviously, the listing helps find a tenant today, but it's also helping a business grow and have a presence. So I won't tell people what to do. I'll just promote a reminder of the benefit of advertising their listings along the way.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, what you're saying there. I was actually going to remind you if you didn't remember that yourself. So it is very important. And again, I had another conversation with somebody the other day, and she reminded me of, some marketing that I hadn't even thought of doing. Like people need to see your stuff, up to 12 times, I think it is now. I think once upon a time in the early marketing days, that 6 times they needed to see it or something. Now it's up to 12 times people need to see it. So, it is really important that if you are in a growth phase of your business and you want to be bringing in more, it's all well and good to have that connection with a builder or a developer. But when their work dries up, where's your next lot of clients coming in? And having that visibility across multiple platforms, whether it's online, offline, your car signage, your signage, whatever that looks like, it's really important. So yes, that is, thank you for answering that, because I put you on the spot with that.
No.
You answered it very well, so good on you. Now, I am a huge advocate of personal development. I'm certain that you are as well. Can you share a resource, book, tool, something to help our audience today?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm going to share 2, and they're both podcasts. And while I think this is a great podcast and I have listened to a few of your recent episodes, I'll promote other ones that are not related to real estate, kind of. One is my favorite podcast of all time, which is called The Imperfects. It's got Hugh Van Cuylenberg and Ryan Shelton and Hugh's brother Josh, and they're phenomenal. Have you heard of it?
It is good. Yeah, yep. It is very good.
We went to see their show in April live at QPAC, which was awesome. And what I love about it is, for me as a male, and if I reflect on a most recent episode without getting too heavy, obviously the violence against women conversation is very topical. And as a male, and I had this conversation with my wife, particularly after the Bondi situation, which really did affect me with the parent, a new parent, the child, etc.
Yes, absolutely.
Very, very powerful. I struggled, though, to connect to the conversation around the male's responsibility and this epidemic of violence that exists. Initially, that was my initial reaction, because I was like, well, what can I do? Right? A really naive and silly reaction. The guys and by the guys, I mean the podcast, The Imperfects, did this really great episode on helping me as a male who is, I like to think, a bit like I'm open to being better at this for sure. They help me understand what role I can play in the community when it comes to having conversations around this violence and what that looks like, and not actually getting defensive, saying it's not my fault, like it's not my I'm not doing it. What do you want me to do? It really, really shocked me in a way that helped me take action to be a better husband, a better father, a better man, a better colleague when it comes to this stuff. Because the reality is 1 in 3 people are affected by this, and we can't all be the good guys. So it was really powerful for me, Kylie. So I highly recommend the Imperfects podcast from a personal level. It's a great mental health podcast. And I think for a lot of men, it's powerful. Now, for ladies listening to this, there's also another great episode on there around the mental load. The mental load, if you are feeling like you're doing more of the heavy lifting at home than your partner, then I would recommend sharing this with them. And it's a really great conversation to have around the mental load that a lot of mums and women carry that a lot of men may not know about. But I think it'll be a good, healthy conversation to have. anyway at home.
Beautiful. You may have opened up some interesting conversations, but with husbands and wives, the wives might be grateful, the husbands not so grateful, but that's all good. These conversations definitely need to happen. And yeah, so thank you for sharing that and highlighting those issues as well. So, and how can our audience connect with you further?
So firstly, obviously, I'm here as Kurtis, a person, a new dad, as you said, and also representing REA. You can connect with me anyway. I am on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, but also you can connect with your REA rep who can put you in touch with me as well. I think the only thing I'll say is we're here to help. And I think if you're paying for a subscription with REA, if you aren't utilizing it to its full potential, you should be, because you're not getting the return that you're paying for. And so pressure your account manager to make sure that they are spending what you require in terms of time to help you understand how to unlock all of the value that you're already paying for.
Absolutely. I just did that recently. So I think that's how you've ended up on here as well. So I said, I want to get you on the podcast, and he went back and got you on the podcast. So
Good.
that's amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And that was a really great conversation.
Thanks, Kylie.
Can I ask you a quick favour before you leave this episode? Now, we all know how important reviews are for businesses these days, and mine is no different. If you could spare just a minute to follow, rate and review this podcast, it would mean a lot to me. In fact, what would get me super excited is if you share this podcast with someone in the industry who you think might need to hear some of the episodes right now. And if you'd like to find out more about working with me or any of the products I have to help you start, grow or scale your property management business, head to my website, thatpropertymum.com.au, or check out the links in the show notes.